engaging the community since 1970. This is WIS Awareness.
Good morning, and thanks for joining us for WIS Awareness. I'm your host, Leland Pinder. And on today's program, we're remembering late State Representative Joseph Neal and the work he did while he was living, and that continues in his honor after his death. Representative Neal was known as a fighter for things he believed in addition to being a state lawmaker since 1992 until he died in 2017, he was also a pastor, a friend, and mentor to many, and an advocate for low-income families. He's also remembered by many for a rousing speech on the State House floor in 2015 concerning the removal of the Confederate flag from State House grounds. He was also compassionate about combating racial profiling in our state. He traveled to Africa and fought for those suffering with HIV and AIDS in South Carolina. And that brings us to the topic of our program today, HIV and AIDS prevention and advocacy and education in our state. That's something Neal will always be remembered for, thanks to his work when he was living and the Joseph Neal Health Collaborative in Columbia that formed after his death. And with more on all of this and Neal's legacy, I'm joined by two really great friends of his, lifelong friends. This is Donald Gilliard and Bishop Ted Myers. Thank you both for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
As you think about the life of your friend, he's been gone for 2 years now. What if people don't know who he is? What should they know about him?
Joe was a cheerleader for right.
Yes.
And for the underdog. Joe's the kind of guy who saw people and wanted to do the best that he could to see that all people would be served and well served, not dependent upon the amount of money you had, not dependent upon the character of the community or the quality of the community as far as money is concerned and wealth is concerned. He wanted everybody to have the best that they could to possibly get. That was Joe.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And the interesting thing about Joe, and we've been friends for over 40 years, is that every time you talk with him about an issue as it affects people in the state, the first thing Joe wanted to know is how it's going to affect the least of us. And that's why I think that he fell in love with funding for the HIV funding in the state. He probably was the #1 legislator fighting for those issues, because these were people that needed a voice, and they had Joe Neal, and that's who he was.
Talk more about that with the cause of HIV/AIDS, education, getting money to fight it. You mentioned why and how that became so important to him. What kind of effect has he had on our state in that way in all the years he served as a state lawmaker?
And I guess the idea would be that he had great impact in that area. But the thing about it is that Joe had such an impact across the board when it came to dealing with people, no matter who they were. Whether Joe was not concerned about color of skin, he was not concerned about the economic condition, he was concerned about people in general. So the HIV/AIDS program would just be another extension of Joe Neal and what he stood for. He said, I want to see people given the best that they possibly can have. And that was Joe. Joe, he would sit down and we would talk many times. We would just have one-on-one conversations. And his concern is, Ted, I am just concerned that we get the most out of what we're doing in the legislature. Because there are times when people forget that these are individuals. Yeah. They think that they're just working with paper and statistics. He said, but these are not statistics. These are people, Yeah. And that's where Joe came in. And Joe was tireless in doing this. Mm-hmm. It is not that he ran out of steam. He would continuously do it because that was Joe Neal. He'd get that extra energy from somewhere to go and muster up enough to get back into the fight of it, into the thick of things. Mm-hmm. And that's who Joe was.
And I think legislatively, in a conservative state, funding, you needed someone like Joe to fight to get the legislators to allocate money for this problem in our community. Because HIV has a devastating effect on our community.
Yeah. And he was very brave to kind of tackle that.
Right.
Even back in the 90s up into the 2000s when he passed away. Because, you know, I've been living here a few years now, but I would imagine not many folks at that time were interested in addressing
Right.
this issue the way he did.
Absolutely, absolutely. And but he was respected in the legislature, both sides, Republicans and Democrats. And I think that really helped him be able to get the funding that's needed. Because in a conservative state, you know, they're not excited about allocating the resources necessary for people that need this help, and that's where he came in, and because they respected him.
And just like you said, the people are, when they get dug in to their own beliefs and their belief systems, when you begin to inject something that's contrary, a little obtuse to what they really think, you have a fight on your hand, and that is what he did in the early 90s when folk thought that this was a disease that was given to a certain segment of society, and we should not even worry about them.
Sure.
Joe took the position that we need to do something.
Yes.
He represented parts of Richland and Sumter counties, and he was directly addressing the needs of his constituents. Obviously, it's positive, but kind of detail the sentiment about Joseph Neal among people in the Midlands, in the region, in the state.
Yeah.
How do you feel about it?
Well, I'll tell you one thing. I was at the funeral. In fact, I even spoke and gave remarks at the funeral. And I was with Joe 2 weeks before he died. We were in Sumter, and he was speaking to, I think, a Dr. King's service in Sumter. And I remembered the speech that he gave, Bishop. And he said that I'm old enough to remember and young enough to do something about it. He was talking about the problems, you know, that was going on. And the theme of the speech was, I'm old enough to remember and young enough to do something about it.
That's a great point and comment to end this segment on. Thank you both. We're going to talk more about his work and advocacy for the issue of HIV/AIDS in our state with the Joseph Neal Healthcare Collaborative that was established after his death. We'll be right back here on WIS Awareness.
Minutes before it gets to your house.
These are very dangerous storms moving through.
A tornado is possible on the ground.
Hours before it impacts the roads.
Take cover right now.
Days before it threatens. The WIS First Alert Weather Team is there. WIS News 10 Chief Meteorologist Deminis Brown alerting you first to severe weather with the most trusted team in the Midlands to give you a little extra time. That's why we First Alert.
What's the role of a car company? To take your kids to and from school? We think it can be something bigger.
Right. So we have the essay structure. We have 3 parts. Intro.
This summer, Volkswagen is supporting America's teachers. Visit your VW dealer to learn how you can join in. Now during the Volkswagen Drive Bigger event, get a $1,000 purchase bonus on 2019 Jetta, Tiguan, and select Atlas models.
When you're in a car wreck, what do? Dial 2. Our attorney's got a $5 million jury verdict for a lady who was rear-ended. That's a lot of money. Dial all 2s now.
To get your attorney, dial all 2s now.
The bladder control aisle. You won't shop here again. Your private business is your own. The constant struggle is over. Now there's a better way. It's HDIS. We home deliver bladder control products. We understand how you feel. For over 25 years, we've home delivered to many of the 20 million Americans who deal with incontinence. We offer all brands. We pay shipping and use plain, unmarked boxes. If we can help you or someone you care for, call for your free product sample pack and $45 in money-saving coupons. Our counselors will help you choose the right product. And unlike stores, we're always in stock. You'll get what you need. Satisfaction guaranteed. HDIS, the better way.
For your free sample pack with your free catalog, $45 in money-saving coupons, and free product samples, call 1-800-493-1091. That's 1-800-493-1091.
See the weather coming your way with WIS Skyview. Live weather cameras across the Midlands. On air, WISTV.com, and on your phone. WIS Skyview. Sponsored by Great Southern Homes. Live green, live smart.
Welcome back this morning to WIS Awareness. Let's start with just some fast facts and numbers about the HIV/AIDS issue here in South Carolina. Take a look at this graphic here. It looks like that there were 1,500, around that many new cases or infections rather, in 2016 and 17. 78% of those were men, 22% were women. 38% of new cases were among people 20 to 29 years old, and 76%, talking about who's at risk, were men who have sex with men. 18% that reported were people who engaged in heterosexual sex, and 4% reported those new infections from drug use. So that's just a quick snapshot of this issue in South Carolina, and that's something that Joseph Neal was obviously, again, very passionate about and working to change and fix, honestly trying to eradicate the problem in our state. So right now I'm joined by, this is Dr. Excuse me here, I'm going to get my information straight. This is Vince Matthews. He's Executive Director of the Joseph H. Neal Healthcare Collaborative, and Dr. Stephen Barnett. You're a medical partner there and an on-staff physician as well.
Right.
All right, thank you both for being here. So again, you just saw those numbers, kind of details the problem in our state, and it's a really big problem that even still, after all of Joseph's work and everyone else, needs a lot of attention.
Yes. The collaborative, in essence, was formed by the family to be able to continue his work and his legacy. And so naturally it felt that working to end the epidemic and partner with CAN Community Health was the prime opportunity to be able to do so. So the collaborative in that respect does the community education and outreach and prevention and testing part, and then works to link with the medical partner right on hand so that we can engage people directly into care. And Dr. Barnett can talk a little bit about how that matches with the national strategy, which is unique for in our area.
Right. Importantly, just something about Joseph Neal to begin with. Prior to his advocacy, South Carolina was not doing a good job of screening, allowing anonymous testing. He was a huge advocate for that. The statistics you gave show that we have a lot of new cases every year. Our concern is that there are a lot of cases that the patients do not know that they have this infection.
Right.
So the piece that Joseph H. Neal Health Collaborative does is to really get out there and go to the community and allow people also to come into us and determine their status. We provide the care that comes with that. It's so important once you determine your status, if you're HIV positive, to get immediately into care. And we know that that keeps you in care. We also do a big prevention piece, and I think people are starting to get aware of that, that we can prevent HIV by taking medicine on a regular basis.
And this is something that largely affects the African American population in South Carolina and elsewhere. Talk about why that is, and how do we kind of level those numbers out and bring them down with comparing it to other populations?
Well, we're seeing a trend nationally that it used to be a disease of older white men. That is transition. Part of that is because there's disparities here, so getting tested and screened and having a primary care provider is very rare in young people and even more rare in the black population. That's why it's so important to get out there and say, it's okay, you need to get tested. If you're at risk, we will do that for free. And if we find that, we try to get it out there that this is a chronic illness. It can be completely managed with one pill a day. The important part is that you know your status and that you engage in treatment.
That's the thing. You mentioned knowing your status there. I was trying to find a quick stat here from the Centers for Disease Control. It says that in 2016, nearly 40% of people with HIV who either did not know they had it or had been diagnosed but were not receiving care transmitted or are responsible for those new cases.
Exactly.
So that is quite alarming. When you talk about getting treatment and taking care of this, there are some challenges, and one of those includes your geographical location. Like being in the South is, there's still a stigma around it.
Yes, and that's one of the things that the collaborative is really focused on addressing in two ways. When you mentioned sort of the challenges of being in rural areas, we provide, we actually go out into the community and base our engage those connections on a community grassroots level. To be able to have those discussions around stigma, we have a program right now that's going on called Loved Ones, that's specifically designed to have peers come in and talk about the challenges and how do we sort of overcome that, because the medicine and technology and science really has now transcended, hasn't matched the law and perceptions of how the illness can be addressed. So that's, I think, the good part of being on the community outreach place. You know, we have the really opportunity to go out and engage on a very grassroots level and open up discussions in spaces that had not sort of happened. And I think we'd be surprised at how many people are really actually, particularly young folks, getting tested and being aware. It's about having knowledge. When people have the information and the access, which we're trying to do, that's what allows communities to transform and makes a difference.
Do you think we'll ever, last question here, like see a time when HIV and AIDS is treated or thought of the same way as just like any regular cancer, and approached that way as far as perception goes? Absolutely,
but it's getting the knowledge out there. I had a new patient yesterday, and the family and the patient think this is a terminal illness, and this is easier to treat than high blood pressure or diabetes or things. You can live a completely normal life. The initiative that's going on now is all about what you just mentioned. We've got to people have to know their status. If you don't know your status, you can become ill, but you also continue to transmit it. So if everyone can get their status known and treated, you cannot transmit it.
And I want to, talking about treatment and transmission, I want to correct myself. I misspoke earlier. The CDC says the vast majority, about 80% of new infections in the country in 2016 were transmitted by those who either did not know they had HIV or had been diagnosed and weren't receiving treatment. So 80%, not 40. So again, a very big, big issue. Thank you both for being here. Coming up next, we're going to talk about a big event coming up to fundraise for the Joseph H. Neal Healthcare Collaborative and how you can be a part of it. We'll be right back.
Instead of going to school every morning, what if school could come to you? Because learning happens anywhere and everywhere. K-12 powered schools provide a tuition-free, full-time, online public school education. It's public school at home. Visit K12.com to learn more.
My students are focused and comfortable, and each student gets the attention they deserve.
Students benefit from personalized support from state-certified teachers.
Your teachers and your staff, they're very supportive of you and your passions.
K-12's curriculum is rigorous. It's designed to challenge students, to engage them. And it's tuition-free.
I've been able to take advanced placement courses. I'll have credit for several classes already in college.
She's learned how to be focused. I'm proud of her.
So visit K12.com today and join the over 1 million K-12 students who have chosen public school at home. Tuition-free in South Carolina.
Bojangles Cajun filet biscuit. Could this get any more perfect?
Pimento cheese. Dude, get it with pimento cheese. Trust me.
Perfect just got perfecter. Introducing Bojangles Cajun Filet Biscuit with our new pimento cheese. Melty, cheddary pimento cheese on our Cajun Spice Chicken. It's perfecter. Bojangles.
It's bow time, y'all.
Injured in a car wreck? Call All Nines and George Sink Injury Lawyers will burn rubber. You're injured. You're out of work. Medical bills are piling up. Time is critical. At George Sink Injury Lawyers, our team is built for speed. We work hard to put you on the right track and help get your money faster.
Wow, that was fast. I'm glad I called All Nines.
Call George Sink Injury Lawyers now.
Now that's a photo finish.
Welcome back. God's Trombones, 7 Negro Sermons in Verse is based on the 1927 book of poems by James Weldon Johnson, and it's going to be a fundraiser here in Columbia on August 31st for the Joseph H. Neal Healthcare Collaborative. It's going to feature performances by gospel choirs, praise bands, and 8 pastors from the Midlands, or the region rather, will recite some of those sermons. And with more, I'm joined again by Mr. Gilliard and Bishop Myers. And not only are you a lifelong friend of Joseph Neal, you own the production company that's kind of putting this whole thing together.
Yes.
So it's sure to be a great event. Tell us more about it.
Well, God's Trombone, as you mentioned, was written in 1927 by James Weldon Johnson. And I'm the founder of Sweet Gilliard Productions. And we travel all over the country doing this production, and we do it uniquely in that we actually use local ministers in the area that we're going to do the production. We bring our 50-member cast in, and then we plug in ministers that know the community and the community know them to do those sermons. So it works out beautifully.
And what can we expect? I mean, good music obviously is on tap. Some powerful readings are going to be happening. What else is going to be there?
Well, music, trombone players, a choir. It's just a very lively reenactment of this incredible historical work. And you get a chance to hear Bishop Myers, who'll be doing Let My People Go sermon in this production, but there's a funeral sermon actually in this production. So, it's really, really lively, and we're really working and hoping that people will buy tickets to come out to see it. And so we're going to be sharing that information as well today.
Tell us more, Bishop Myers, when people come to this event, what are you hoping they'll take away once it's over?
Leland, the unique quality, I think, of Johnson's work is not that it was just literary, but that it had qualities that reached the soul of people. And it had to be something that was inspired of God, not just a thing that a man penned from his head. It came from a spiritual part of Johnson. So as Don has mentioned, the ministers who are going to be speaking will deliver these different sermons, but the key to this is that each of these sermons, each one represents a very special thing in life. For instance, the Noah and the Ark is talking about finding that element in life which will give you an opportunity to get through life and having a place to go so that you can get away from the mess that you can find in life. The one that says about death, it says that there is not an end to a life. This is just a segment of life that we're living. And of course, each one of these sermons is expected to touch the heart of people. So they're not actors.
Not at all.
They're not actors. They're people who are bringing forth something that was written by someone who had a relationship in God, not with God, but in God, that brought forth a message that is fit for any generation.
Well, let's go ahead and hear a portion of yours, if you don't mind. Go ahead and stand up and give us a sample of the reading you'll be doing, if that's okay.
That's okay.
Yeah. Okay. And we'll do this kind of as we head to break.
Okay.
So come on up and let's hear it.
And I'll share with you. No, that's okay. I'll share with you. But there is, there's a thing that we must understand, and it is this, that as you look at the one that I have, Let My People Go, it is not just dealing with the idea of something that Johnson wrote, but it says to any Pharaoh at any given point in time that there is a statement that is going to be leveled upon you, and that is that God's people belong to him, and that God reigns, the power of God reigns in the kingdom of men. So as Johnson wrote that, he said, then God spoke again to Moses, and he spoke in a voice of thunder. I am the Lord God Almighty. I am the God of their fathers. I am the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob. And God said to Moses, I've seen the awful suffering of my people down in Egypt. I've watched their hard oppressors, their overseers and their drivers, the groans of my people have filled my ears, and I can't stand it no longer. So I'm come down to deliver them out of the land of Egypt. And I will bring them out of the land into the land of Canaan. Therefore, Moses, go down into Egypt and tell old Pharaoh to let my people go. That is where we are with that, Leland.
Thank you so much. We'll be right back here on WIS Awareness.
Battery power, made by Steel. One battery, multiple tools. Right now, get a battery trimmer or battery blower at just $199.95. Visit SteelDealers.com.
Our democracy is under attack. It's been bought by corporations who put profits over people. I've been taking on corporations and winning for 10 years. I trust the people, not the politicians in Washington, to fix this. As president, I'll establish a national referendum to make your voice heard and term limits for Congress to ensure politicians focus more on you than getting reelected. I'm Tom Steyer, and I approve this message. Let's make change happen.
Need cash? TitleMax offers 2 ways to get it. Get cash using your car title. Go to TitleMax.com, enter the car year, make, model. See how much you can get. TitleMax also offers personal loans. No title required. Check out TitleMax.com when you need more cash. Check out TitleMax.com and shop us for rates. Get up to $2,500 with a personal loan or up to $10,000 using your car title. And you'll say, I got my title back with TitleMax.
Get a title back with TitleMax.
This is the nimble Chevy Trax, the versatile Chevy Equinox, the stylish all-new Chevy Blazer, and the roomy Chevy Traverse with seating for up to 8. The Chevy family of SUVs. No matter what you're looking for in an SUV, Chevy's got you covered.
Current GM owners can get over $5,500 below MSRP on this Equinox. See your Midlands Chevy dealers today.
Thanks to all my guests this morning. If you're interested in attending God's Trombones happening August 31st at Lower Richland High School, you can pick up tickets at the Healthcare Collaborative in downtown Columbia at 1911 Hampton Street. And again, they are $35. Have a great rest of your day. This has been Awareness.
This summer, Volkswagen is